So I'm just going to come out and admit it. This isn't actually what episode 7 was supposed to be. When I went ahead and I was going to hit record, actually when I hit record and I recorded episode 7, this isn't what you're listening to. This is like the second version. The original one was supposed to talk about me discussing the whole idea of bilking and how guys have been going through it, and introduce the whole Amber Heard Johnny Depp case and how, guys go through a lot of shit too, and guys can be victims, and we also need to be looked at in an equal manner when it comes to perpetrator and victim, sort of the same way babes do, because it's like babes always looked at as victims and us guys always looked at as the perps, which I always feel is very, very tough on guys to a certain degree, and with very honest, guilty until proven innocent reasons for it. But the moment I got done recording it, saved it and everything, I thought about it for a second, and it honestly didn't feel like it was entirely from the heart. Like, it felt like an episode that I made just for the sake of making. And, this is a series that's just about, the stuff that I get to think about. Like the raw thoughts that I bring up, or that I can bring up, that I normally do bring up whenever I'm with a couple of my bros or with close friends and shit. Some of the questions that probably should have been asked and probably should be asked and should be discussed over. Stuff like that. So I figured, what, I might as well leave it at that. And not too long after that, I sort of had this whole realization that, oh shit, it's actually Pride Month. And for those of y'all that don't know what Pride Month is, it's like Black History Month, but for the LGBT. I don't know, does that make a lot more sense for some of y'all that didn't know about it? Anyways, that's kind of what it is. If you don't know what Black History Month is, I honestly don't know. Yes, Mental Health Awareness Month. I think that one makes it a little bit easier and a little bit more, gender neutral for people to sort of understand what it is. Now, if you don't know what the hell Mental Health Awareness Month is all about, or is, No Shave November, I guess. Like, I feel at this point, you probably already catch a pretty good drift of what this month is about. It's about celebrating the L's, the G's, the B's, the T's, and all the other letters that end up on this very long-ass abbreviation. Now, it did kind of bring up this thought. And it's a question that I've been asked by quite literally no one. Like, no one has asked me this question, but it sort of popped up. And I figured maybe there might be someone that'll have that question for one reason or another. And it is, why is it that I don't really talk about the LGBT or LGBT-related relationships on this podcast? Because, I'm a podcaster that talks about relationships. This podcast mainly exists as a relationships podcast. Yes, there's all the other breakdowns and everything, but it's primarily relationships and people. So why don't I talk about them? And the truth of it is, it's not like I can't. I actually can go and get a lot of information and topics and stuff to talk about from a lot of my LGBT friends. Like, I actually know quite a number of people that are a part of the LGBTQIAPP plus community. So it wouldn't be that big of a problem, but why don't I really talk about them? And to be completely honest, I sort of have, but I mostly prefer not to. Like, obviously there's, certain obvious reasons like, practical experience and shit, which I don't have, but I honestly prefer not to talk about them. And it's not because of hate or anything, or that, there's no community for it, even where I stay. Because the reality of it is there is actually a pretty, vibrant LGBT community in Kenya, in Nairobi. It's just that, they sort of exist in a gray line, or like a gray area. Sort of like weed. Like, not in a bad way, though. Because the way it works is, it's not like it's legally allowed, permitted, promoted, or anything of that sort. But as long as people around you don't feel disturbed by you doing it, or as long as you do it in private where a bunch of people might know about it but don't openly see you doing it, then no one's really going to bat much of an eyelash. Like, that's kind of how it's sort of always been. Same exact thing with weed. And so as a community, they exist. But also, that notwithstanding, I have spoken about them before in fan favorite section, FFS number 1. LGBTQI ain't paying. If y'all can find that episode, it's way down back from 2019's releases. I spoke about them there. Although the last time I did mention the LGBT on this podcast, it was about a year ago, and I made a joke which wasn't taken very nicely. And so, in the spirit of me making jokes that they probably won't like, I figured, let me not really talk about them. But, okay, real reasons why it is I actually don't talk about the LGBT. One, I'm actually trying to avoid assumptions. Yes, I have friends. Yes, I know people that I can talk to about it. But if it's not something I can experience, if it's not something that I have experienced, then I probably won't talk about it because I do not think that I have the technical know-how on, working around that. Yes, I've made assumptions before, and there was actually a period of time when I spoke about marriage, which I feel like is one of my more regrettable points in time, because I was talking about shit that I had zero idea and zero understanding on. So I'm trying to reduce on that while I continuously build my portfolio of episodes and shit. Then secondly, I sort of kind of assume that they know about themselves. Like, when a shorty is dating another shorty, she kind of probably knows about shorties and the dating market. When a guy is dating another guy, they probably kind of know about guys in the dating market. So I don't entirely think that there's that much that I can really give to them. Like, I know some guys can be feminine and some women can be masculine, but for the most part, they can probably sort of kind of understand each other. Also, I find it a little bit hard to think that some guy is going to sit down, listen to what it is that I say, and believe that it's going to be the same exact case when he's going for his other guy boyfriend, or, he's trying to do some shit with another guy. Like, I tend to think that might be a little bit different. Also, it kind of applies the same way with babes. I might be talking about babes, but it's not like I'd expect that the lesbian wouldn't know that much about babes as opposed to me. Because, she has the apparatus. She's probably chilled with babes a hell of a lot more. So she probably understands. So if a babe is online and she's busy saying, like, I don't get what's wrong with these females, like, I'd probably be a little bit confused because, like, you have the apparatus, you've been a woman for, like, all of your life. Like, you should be giving me the answers. I should be the one saying that I can't understand these women, and then you give me the answers. Like, y'all are the ones that steal the babes from us guys. Like, we usually like to call ourselves Mr. Steal Your Girl, but there's Mrs. Steal Your Girl or Miss Steal Your Girl, and that's usually y'all. So if anything, you should be giving me tips. Then I usually sort of assume that their relationship issues are more or less the same as ours straight people, or as us straight people. Because I tend to think that, there's always going to be a dominant side as well as a submissive side in every single relationship. And, it's all about the dynamics of making that shit work and, the care and affection and growth and shit. That'll probably already be there. And, if you're a gay guy that finishes quickly, then, my tips will probably still work for you. Like, you're still nutting and it's still sex. So there's not that much that is really that different. Save for a couple of details, such as being a top, being a bottom, being a verse, how some of that shit works, and the many, many different dynamics of that shit. But all in all, there's not that much that's particularly different, or at least I assume that there's not that much that's particularly different. I know I was supposed to ditch assumptions, but it is what it is. But all in all, the number one reason, the last, but I think the most important reason as to why it is I rarely ever talk about that, kind of comes back to what this podcast is about. What you'll see on the bio or on the description of this podcast, be it on social media or even from the platform that you're using. And that's the fact that it's a male outlook. It's a young male's outlook on love, sex, and relationships in the current 21st century that we are in. Now, that male's perspective and outlook is a straight man's perspective and outlook. And all in all, it's about me showing the babes what it's like to be a guy in today's world of dating and sex and relationships. And it's also my way of showing the guys that there's someone that actually resonates with how they feel and what they go through, and how they might want to navigate in this world of dating and sex and relationships and shit. And to be quite honest, I don't think I can properly replicate that for the gay community, or the lesbian dykes, or maybe a more dominant tranny or a pansexual or some shit, because I honestly don't have the facilities for that. And as a result, I not only cannot do it, but I also don't want to. And bonus fact, there's a lot of my fans that probably might not like that shit. Although, then again, I might be wrong about that. So I want your thoughts on this, because I guess it's the fans that should probably tell me whether this should be something I should embrace. So on IG, it is at Breaktime on Westside. On Facebook, it is also at Breaktime on Westside. And on Twitter, you can slide into my personal DMs, which is at Bagaka the D. Thank you so much for listening, and I'd love your feedback, and I will catch you guys on the next break.